This poem was actually written by a woman named Teresa Raphael Higgins, who won the largest retroactive settlement in VA history. She left the service in 1954 from a mental institution, and a doctor who was a member of the American Communist Party who worked for the Veterans Administration named Merton Chelnick. You can go research it. That's why I'm giving you his name. Because I brought this up at the final hearing. And I believe he was shafting a lot of veterans at Chicago VA, and she was one of them. And he said that she did not have a mental condition from a stress-related illness from service. And so from 1954 to 1994, she basically was in and out of mental institutions and was on welfare. And during a church service in 1978, she came up to me after a church service in 1978, and she told me, it had to be 1987, and she said that God told me and my friends during our prayer meeting on Wednesday night, her parents and her friends were with her, that I, Mr. Earl Wallace, was going to handle her case against the VA. And to make a long story short, 7 years later, I started working for the New York State Division of Veterans Affairs. She called when I was on the job only 2 months. I tried to talk her out of this, saying, I don't know what I'm doing, you don't want me handling this claim. But she forced me to file it. And 7 years later, she won the largest retroactive settlement in VA history. The federal government first check had to pay her from 1954 to 1994. But this woman was a patriot. She wrote this poem while she was in military service. It's called Retreat Thoughts. Retreat is the time of the day when in the military you lower your flag. So in every cantonment area, there's a flag being lowered, but on most posts, there's a main flag area, and that main ceremony is the one that people pay the most attention to. So as the flag is being lowered, this is what she wrote. I stand before all glory, with tear-dimmed eyes each night, and proudly salute the colors that have no stain or blight. I know it's just a piece of cloth, several centuries old, but all the meaning behind it, and stories that could be told. Red stands for innocent blood shed for you and me, while the white reminds us of our country's purity. Now we come to the last, that color which is blue, surrounded by 50 stars, showing how our nation grew. And as it's being lowered slowly to the ground, perhaps we stop to think of the coffins it has mounted. And now it's being folded by those who serve it well, comrades of soldiers who in the front lines fell. Now to climax all these thoughts and put them into one, to stand retreats of privilege that human blood has won. If you have served or are serving in the military, or law enforcement and fire protection, or if you have lost someone who has served, please stand and let us acknowledge your family sacrifice and courage. Thank you. Please be seated. Let's pray. God, please bless the people of this nation to honor you the way America's founding fathers honored you and applied biblical Christianity to civic life and government. May you work in us so that we are motivated to explain to others the founding values of this nation, which are biblical values, and which inspired and still inspire our military, law enforcement, and fire protection services. Let not their sacrifices be in vain. Reestablish yourself as the public object to honor here in our beloved USA.